Welcome, everyone. We're glad that you're here. Before we begin, we're going to have just a brief word from our interpreters from Just Communities. So I'll hand it over to them.
This is a bilingual message and will be repeated in English. Sorry. Hola, mi nombre es Simone Rivadeneira y esta es Claudia Leiva y este es un mensaje bilingüe que será repetido en inglés. Somos miembros de la Red de Justicia Lingüística de Comunidades Justas. Vamos a interpretar la presentación de hoy día entre inglés y español. Un ambiente bilingüe virtual exitoso depende de todos y todas, no solamente de las intérpretes. Pueden ayudar teniendo en cuenta algunos puntos. Hablen claramente para asegurar que les podemos escuchar. Hablen a un ritmo moderado. Tengan cuidado de no hablar demasiado rápido, especialmente si están leyendo. Solamente debe hablar una persona a la vez. Hablen en el idioma en el que se sienten más cómodos y cómodas. Pedimos que las personas bilingües no cambien de un idioma a otro debido a las limitaciones de la tecnología que estamos trabajando. En un momento, el anfitrión activará la función de interpretación y en la parte inferior derecha de su pantalla podrá seleccionar el idioma en el que desea escuchar, en inglés o español. Esto le permitirá escuchar cuando los oradores hablen en ambos idiomas, pero en el idioma de su preferencia. Si estás en un teléfono o en una tableta, necesitas encontrar el menú de 3 puntos y seleccionar interpretación de idiomas. Si está teniendo algún problema con su conexión, mande un mensaje por el chat al anfitrión para resolver el problema. Gracias. Hi, my name is Simone Rivadeneira. I'm here with Claudia Leiva, and we are representing the Just Community Language Justice Network. We will be providing interpretation between English and Spanish for today's presentation. A successful virtual bilingual environment depends on all of us, not just the interpreters. You can help by keeping a few things in mind. Speak clearly to ensure we can hear you. Speak at a moderate pace. Please be careful not to speak too fast, especially if you are reading. Only one person should speak at a time. Speak in whichever language you feel most comfortable. We ask that bilingual folks do not switch language due to the limitations of the technology we are working with. In a moment, the host will turn on the interpretation feature, and at the bottom right corner of your screen, you will be able to select the language you want to hear the presentation in English or Spanish. This will allow you to hear when speakers of both languages talk, but in your language of preference. If you are on a phone or tablet, you need to find the 3-dot menu and select language interpretation. We would like to remind you that if you are not bilingual in English and Spanish, select English. If you are having any trouble with the interpretation feature, send a message to the host through the chat so the issue can be resolved. Thank you. We can begin.
All right. We've enabled the interpretation, so please let us know if you have any issues accessing that. Welcome, everyone. My name is Landon Rank, and I'm the coordinator for the Interfaith Sanctuary Alliance of Santa Barbara. And we welcome you to What's New in Immigrant Rights, a webinar for immigrant allies to better understand the issues facing our immigrant neighbors on a national, regional, and local level. So just as a note, as we begin, that we will send out all the links and phone numbers and email addresses that we share this evening, so no need to scramble to write anything down. We'll also try and post things in the chat window as they come up. So this is an event that's hosted by the Interfaith Sanctuary Alliance of Santa Barbara. We are a coalition of people of faith and people of conscience working to stand in solidarity and support with our immigrant neighbors here in the Central Coast. And I want to begin by just thanking some of the different faith communities that have joined with us for this year's Love Your Neighbor events. So I'm going to just pull up a listing. Our goal with Love Your Neighbor Week every year is to encourage as many faith communities and organizations as possible to spread the message that all of us, regardless of our faith tradition, are called to love our immigrant neighbors and welcome those who are new in this country. So we also want to take a moment as a part of Love Your Neighbor Week to invite you to join us. We will be hosting a virtual interfaith vigil on Sunday of this week at 4:30 p.m. and that will be on Zoom. You can register at this link here, which I'll share in the chat window. You can also use that QR code. At the vigil, we'll have some space for silence, candlelight, and prayers from local faith communities and representatives from the immigrant community. So I'll post the registration link in the chat window, and we hope to see you on Sunday. In addition, as an organization that's working to stand with and for our neighbors who are migrating from their homes and refugees, we do want to just acknowledge there's a lot going on in our world right now. And there are some direct ways to support those in Ukraine at this moment. Locally, we would encourage you to donate to Direct Relief if you have an interest. They're offering medical aid from oxygen concentrators to critical care medicines. And then they're preparing to offer longer term aid to people who will be displaced or affected by the war. We also wanted to let you know there are ongoing peace vigils happening at Santa Barbara's First Ukrainian Evangelical Church. And those are happening Monday through Saturday at 7 p.m. So for tonight, we're going to hear from local immigrant allies. We're going to hear from service providers, coalition builders, and others. And we want to start by discussing the ways to support our immigrant neighbors at a national level, and then we'll move closer to a state level and then to the local level. And of course, this is by no means a comprehensive listing of resources or the ways to stand with our neighbors. However, our hope is that we can provide all of you with a jumping off point to better understand what's being done in the Central Coast and how you can get involved. We'll also leave some time at the end of our webinar for questions and responses, but in the meantime, you're welcome to write any questions that arise in the chat window and we'll try to answer them as best we can. So to begin tonight, we're going to be discussing some of the ways that local immigrant allies are standing with our neighbors at a national level. And I want to start with our Afghan Refugee Taskforce. So this was a group that was first formed in 2021 to figure out how we could best respond and support some of the 76,000 Afghan refugees that were brought to the US since last summer. So I'm going to hand it over to Molly Kellogg to share more. So take it away, Molly. And Molly, you're going to want to unmute.
Thanks, Landon. And as Landon says, I'm here to talk about Afghan refugee resettlement issues. So a couple of years ago, I attended a 3-day training on refugee resettlement run by the Episcopal Migration Ministries. At the time, I thought, I wonder when I'm going to get to use this, if ever. And then fast forward to last summer, and we all saw the devastating rapid evacuation of thousands of Afghans to the United States, many of them. So at that point, I realized now is the time to utilize that experience. So we set up the Afghan Resettlement Task Force of Santa Barbara. It's an interfaith task force composed of people from the Unitarian Society, Trinity Episcopal Church, Trinity Evangelical Lutheran Church, SB Cares, which is the philanthropic organization of the Jewish community in Santa Barbara, and with help from the Islamic Society and a very talented and helpful interpreter and translator, a professor at UC Santa Barbara, we moved forward. We welcomed an Afghan family to Santa Barbara in November of 2021. This is the mother, Shakriya, and her 2 daughters, who are now aged 2 and 7. When they arrived in Santa Barbara, they were hosted by a very kind and generous woman in Goleta. And it was a very traumatic and difficult settling in process for them. They experienced not only trauma prior to their departure from Afghanistan, and we all know the war, the explosions, everything that was happening there. But they were evacuated in one of those troop transport planes that we all saw pictures of, where hundreds of people were crammed into aircraft with no seats, basically just sitting on the floor of the fuselage. And then there was no heat. And so they were first flown to Washington, D.C., and then they were settled temporarily at a military base in Wisconsin. So the United States very rapidly evacuated over 80,000 people to the United States, and also several thousand refugees who were settled in countries that are allies of the United States. And those refugees are awaiting the ability to come to the United States. So it's a huge job, a huge resettlement job. So when the family arrived, we did our best to make them feel comfortable and help them relax after their traumatic experiences. The reason that they came to Santa Barbara was because the mother was offered a job here. She had been trained by a dental clinic in Afghanistan, and she had expertise in dental hygiene. But unfortunately, the job in Santa Barbara never really materialized. So we had conversations with Shukriya about her options and her future. As everybody knows, Santa Barbara could be a very difficult place for people to resettle. It's expensive. There's no Afghan community here to speak of. And Shukriya had a brother in Dallas. So we talked with her about options, considering also her brother in Dallas. And so her decision was to go ahead and move to Dallas. So we bought her a plane ticket. We set up a team in Dallas who met her, found her an apartment, furnished the apartment, assisted with getting the oldest child in school, signing her up for food stamps, and any other public assistance that was available to people at that point. So this family is slowly settling in. The mother is in English language courses. It's been a very difficult resettling for the mother. The older daughter who's in school seems to be doing relatively well, but we're very actively involved with this family. We speak to them on a daily basis, either members of the Afghan Resettlement Taskforce here in Santa Barbara or our team in Dallas. And we have committed to provide support, financial support for that family up to December 1st, by which time we hope that Shukriya will be able to be employed. She wants to work again in the dental field. She will have to take classes, pass examinations, get licensed in order to do that. So this has been an interesting and long journey. All of these people from Afghanistan have no previous connection to our country by and large. So it's a very difficult reentry for them, and they require a lot of support. If anyone has questions, by all means, feel free to ask. And there's information in the chat window about how to contact me, and also how to donate if you would like to help financially support Shukriya and her children. Thank you so much. And everyone, please keep Shukriya, her children, and her family, some of whom are still in Afghanistan, in your thoughts and prayers.
Thank you so much, Molly. Appreciate all the work you're doing. And as Molly said, please feel free to put any questions in the chat window or stick around till the end. Next, we're going to go to Laurinda Marshall, who is going to be sharing about the Border Project, which is working to support asylum seekers at our southern border here in the U.S.
Thanks, Landon. And also thank you, Molly. I know how hard your group has been working on the Afghan refugee settlement. I'm going to tell you a little bit about who the Border Project is, what we do, and how you can help refugees at the border. We're an interfaith group in Santa Barbara, and we work in collaboration with the Interfaith Sanctuary Alliance. When the previous US administration started the Stay in Mexico policy, tent camps full of refugees seeking asylum gathered at the Mexican-US border. Our group formed to address the pressing needs of those refugees waiting, seeking asylum in the US. We first focused on helping those in Tijuana, since that is the section of the border closest to us. It was a natural. And in May of 2021, we located a trustworthy liaison working with El Chaparral camp in Tijuana, which at its largest population housed about 2,000 immigrants. They told us, this liaison told us of the immediate needs of the refugees. So we solicited contributions of money, food, hygiene products, and clothing. We loaded the provisions into 4 vehicles and headed to Tijuana for a trip which would touch hearts. El Chaparral was a sprawling tent city, bursting with young children and families. One participant described being overwhelmed at the sight of this refugee camp so close to the US. Witnessing the resilience and tremendous needs of our refugee neighbors strengthened our resolve to help. Recently, El Chaparral was dismantled by the Mexican government. So our group thought about our model of delivering resources, and we thought our resources would be better used rather than collecting things here and driving them to Mexico. It would be better if we could find someone dependable who was affiliated with a shelter in Mexico who buys supplies there. And we could contribute money to that foundation. So through contacts in the Episcopal Church, we were led to Sister Suzanne Jabro, who she's just a firecracker. And she works with La Posada del Migrante shelter in Mexicali. She's a great advocate for the residents of the shelter and full of enthusiasm. There are greater needs in Mexicali because there are so many projects in Tijuana because of the proximity of San Diego. So La Posada houses about 200 refugees. All of them are parents with children. They come from South America, Central America, and Mexico. Many people travel on foot. One family carried their daughter all the way from Honduras. She has cerebral palsy. These people need food, shelter, and the opportunity to work while they await asylum. It costs about $2,000 per month to feed the 200 residents of the shelter. So in October 2021, the Border Project, in collaboration with ISA, held a fundraiser for La Posada del Migrante, and we were able to send $4,000 to their nonprofit, Border Compassion. Our contribution covered November's and December's food expenses last year. In April, next month, a group from Santa Barbara's Border Project will visit La Posada del Migrante, guided by Sister Suzanne. We look forward to learning from our refugee neighbors about their needs and about their faith, courage, and resilience. We are currently raising $6,000 to cover groceries for April, May, and June. We have already raised more than $2,000. You can help by contributing to ISA/SB Act Southern Border Fund. And Landon has posted the link in the chat. Thank you for joining us in supporting our sisters and brothers living at the Mexican border, seeking safety and a secure life for their families. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Laurinda. Thank you to everyone who's a part of that border project group doing important relief work for our border neighbors. I want to pass it now as we move into talking about ways that we can support our neighbors at a statewide level over to Frank Rodriguez, who's the coordinator with the 805 Immigrant Coalition. And he's going to be sharing about various ways that we can advocate for our immigrant rights at a state level.
Hola, everybody. Thank you, Landon and all for having me. So my name is Frank Rodriguez, he, him, él. I'm a policy advocate with CAUSE, the long name Central Coast Alliance United for a Sustainable Economy. But of course here as part of a co-coordinator with the 805 Immigrant. And if I, Landon, can I share my screen real quick?
Yeah.
So 805 Immigrant is a coalition that's been around for before it used to be the Central Coast Immigrant Rights Coalition, and we've been around now for over 8 years. And it started as a partnership with the California Immigrant Policy Center, who really wanted to fund advocacy efforts that are coming outside of the traditional LA and Bay Area metro and really come into semi-rural kind of these counties like Santa Barbara and Ventura and San Luis Obispo to make sure our voices are being heard in uplifting immigrant rights, especially in Sacramento. And so the website we have is under 805immigrant.org, or in Spanish, 805inmigrante.org. And this is where we house a lot of the efforts that we're doing. And through this coalition, we mostly focusing on advocacy, again, at the state level with state legislation or advocating for budgets that include immigrant communities. But also at the local level, pushing for such actions that I know a lot of humans here have supported on, and pushing for the Truth Act, the Values Act, and limiting ICE presence here within our local law enforcement. So the first part I wanted to talk about was, if you go to our website, you're going to see our Immigrant Day of Action that I know a lot of people here have participated on. This action has been going on for over 20 years, led by the California Immigrant Policy Center, which helps lead our 805 Immigrant Coalition. And this year, we continue to advocate for pro-immigrant legislation coming out of California. And as we know, especially in the last few years, there's been so many victories, let it be the continued increase in the amount of undocumented folks who can access our healthcare system. At the moment, starting in May 1st, those who are 50 and over and are undocumented are now and qualify for Medi-Cal will be able to get Medi-Cal. Folks who are under 26 already qualify for Medi-Cal if they're undocumented. And there's talks that in the budget that's been announced that everyone should be covered in the upcoming year. So we're excited to make sure, where we've been advocating, of course, health for all really means also including folks who are cut off our social safety nets, such as our healthcare system. So we're super excited for victories such as those. But if you see here, the day is going to be different than it's usually done. It's usually done on a Monday, usually around the first weeks of May. But this year it's going to be on April 26th, which is the Thursday. And this is earlier in the legislative sessions, which we're super excited to make sure we're there when the budget and other parts of decisions being made are happening. So again, this is going to be all virtual, but here you can register, sign up to join us. If you go to to CIPC's website, the California Immigrant Policy Center, there is a charge, and you can definitely go that way. I think the fee is $15 or $10, I forget. And we want them to definitely get donations for all the coordination they're doing. But we also support in getting folks to participate in these lobby efforts. So if you come here to this website, you'll be able to register for free and participate in Immigrant Lobby Day. And so the rally for all of that is going to be starting around 9:30 a.m. And there's going to be different panel discussions throughout the day around workers' rights, intersectionality. And because we are meeting with different legislators, those meetings are planned throughout the day. So they will happen sometime between 11 a.m. And 4 p.m. And so once we find out those dates, meeting with our state assembly, state senators, we'll let folks know through this website, so people can plan accordingly. And the 4 bills that we're really focusing on are the Vision Act, Health for All, Food for All, and Safety Net for All. I already spoke a little bit about Health for All, and we're super excited that it seems that the governor and our state legislators are pushing for Health for All coverage for all individuals, no matter their age, which is what we want, but we want to make sure we have a loud voice to make sure that comes into fruition. This has been years and years of advocacy for getting health for all youth, health for all young adults, health for all seniors, and now we need to cover 26 to 49-year-olds to make sure they have access to our healthcare system. The other one that's been part of a long trend of bills to limit ICE or La Migra collaboration with our local law enforcement is the Vision Act. Over the years, we've had the Trust Act, the Truth Act, and the Values Act, all placing limits on how ICE can use the information of our local law enforcement, that being our sheriff's offices here in Santa Barbara, Ventura, and San Luis Obispo counties. And the Vision Act closes some loopholes that came and started with the Trust Act. And basically this is to put more restrictions and limit the amount of individuals that are being picked up from ICE, from our county jails, people that are basically paying double jeopardy in terms of being deported after they already served time within our local jurisdictions. Another one is Food for All. This one has been a recent kind of campaign push that's super exciting, and it's really pushing back to the safety nets that were taken away for access to food and food stamps, quote unquote, especially by the attack on the welfare system. And the attacks of allowing these safety nets and the access to healthy and food, or healthy food, to our community. So this is taking away those limitations to SNAP and other food programs for undocumented folks. Food for All is an effort to take away any restrictions for immigrants to access food that's coming through the state. And the last one is Safety Net for All. And if you go to the website, you can click in each one of these and it'll take you to the site where you can find more information on those campaigns. But Safety Net for All is kind of what the name says, is we want to make sure one of the most important safety nets that kind of our society has is access to unemployment insurance or unemployment benefits. During this COVID-19 pandemic, that was seen more than ever, where a lot of folks, especially from a lot of industries that were hit the hardest, especially those in the tourist industry that I know fell here in Santa Barbara, folks couldn't go to work. And so unemployment insurance was a huge support to make sure folks had food, had the income to have a roof over their head. But undocumented folks still do not have access to this very important safety net, even though all of them contribute by paying taxes, right? And being in living here in our community. So these are, at the moment, the biggest policy issues that we're pushing them for, and will come up when we go up to Sacramento virtually in April 26, 2022. And so that's the main part on that. So let me stop that share. And then there was a few more, and sorry, I'm in the dark. I was trying to find the light, but Landon, can you share the PowerPoint slide so I can talk about the last 3 points?
Yes. So we'd love now, as we've talked through some of the state things, we'd love for you to share just a bit about the local level.
Perfect. So the first one, and this is especially giving a big ups to the folks that have been leading the most service and direct organizing on this effort, especially the Immigrant Legal Defense Center. And I know I'm seeing Immigrant Hope and Importa, the service providers who are doing the heavy lifting of service providing on these issues. So a justice fund is an effort to make sure that folks have access to a lawyer when they're facing deportation proceedings. Of course, cause in Santa Barbara, we do a lot of tenant rights organizing. So this is kind of that same idea that when a tenant is facing some sort of eviction or something, that they have legal representation to make sure that they have counsel when they're going to court. And so immigrants aren't afforded this through our laws. And so we want to make sure that we have that here, follow the models of LA, Orange County, different Long Beach, different cities and municipalities and counties that have put in money in order for a justice fund so immigrants can have that lawyer, because the number of folks that are deported when they have a lawyer and when they don't have a lawyer is a huge disproportion. Sorry, I'm not saying that right, is very disproportionate, those outcomes. And I think, I know I'm seeing other folks with Importa, LDC, Immigrant Hope can live that and are the ones, I think, with 805 Immigrant that are, 805 and DocuFund that are leaving that justice fund conversation. That's going to happen on March 22nd from 12 to 1 p.m. Landon, I know and other folks are going to be sending out that link. So super excited for this new campaign. And I know there's already been some groundwork. I know, especially speaking with Julissa Peña, with ILDC, that there's been a lot of ideas and movement and conversations with electeds, but I'm here to, I think, really elevate the importance of this effort, especially if Santa Barbara County, Ventura County, or certain municipalities can put into a fund that can make sure that folks aren't getting deported. And especially when we're seeing the numbers from the amount of individuals that are being picked up from our local county jails, those numbers have been dropping dramatically because of the laws that have been put into place, but also because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the decrease of the population in our jails. But overall, we want to make sure this trend continues in terms of providing all the safety nets available to make sure that we're keeping family members together and keeping them here where we live. The second piece is also on our 805 Immigrant website is our Rapid Response Network. This is also in collaboration with a lot of the folks that I just mentioned, and operates through our phone number, which is 805-870-8855. So if folks want to join that system, at the moment that those messages are sent out in Spanish, it's sending alerta to that number. And it's a new system that we've been using in order to, one, alert people about COVID-19 updates, the vaccine, but also to update folks on the presence of ICE in our communities. And another way that folks can get involved in that, and where we'll have kind of continued conversations of how to make sure we have a strong community together, responding and calling for the expulsion of ICE from our community, is the ICE out of Santa Barbara County, which the next meeting is going to be Monday, April 4th, from 4 to 5:30. And the link is put on by Landon. So definitely come join to see how to get involved. the counties are doing the Truth Act forums still, in which the sheriff has to report how they are collaborating with ICE and how many people have been turned over. Again, like I said earlier, those numbers have been going down, and we hope to get to zero, because just one individual being picked up is violence being put into our community. So we want to make sure that nobody is coming in and disrupting our local law enforcement procedures that we have, and we want to make sure we keep families together. And so I'll stop there and pass it back to you, Landon. And nice to see a lot of beautiful faces.
Thank you, Frank. And we did have just a clarification from the chat that the Immigrant Day of Action is Tuesday, April 26th. So it's all day that date. And we just are gonna make sure and speak slowly for the interpreters. We got a note on that. Thank you so much, Frank. Frank has his fingers in so many different pies, doing a lot of work for immigrant rights, tenant rights, a lot of different issues in our community. And so we're grateful anytime we get to have him work with us. So I do want to move now to hear from some of our immigrant legal service providers. So we're going to start with Joana Barrera from Importa SB.
Okay, so hello everybody. Thank you, Landon. Yeah, so thank you everybody for doing all the work, the hard work that you're doing. Frank, Julissa, Landon, I think it's very valuable information that we would love to continue to support. And yes, so my name is Joana Barrera Hernandez. I am an accredited representative at Importa. I'm also the office manager here in our Santa Maria office. Marlene Flores is our executive director. She was not able to attend today, so I am here to present the information about Importa. Yeah, so Importa, we're a local nonprofit organization, and we are accredited under the Department of Justice to be able to provide our legal services. And that means, for those that don't know what it means to be accredited, it means that we're actually authorized to provide legal advice. And there is an application you have to submit, and you have to be able to work under an organization that is accredited. And so our services, most of our services are free or low cost. We do help with several services such as renewing DACA applications. We also assist in screening clients who maybe in the future, if DACA opens up again, if they're eligible for DACA under these regulations. We also assist folks in renewing their green cards. So those that are lawful permanent residents. And we motivate those lawful permanent residents to be able to apply for naturalization, which means that they would apply for their citizenship. And as we all know, there's a lot of benefits in those permanent residents being able to become citizens because they are, in effect, like once they become citizens, they're able to vote, and they're also able to do other things as U.S. citizens. So not only that, but we also assist in providing free consultation appointments. We assist in screening clients for U visa, also for VAWA and other adjustment of status applications. So there's a lot of things that we're able to manage in screening clients because some people don't know what their immigration options are. And a lot of the times we ask them thoroughly, about their background, their immigration history. And with that said, we also do FOIAs, and FOIAs is the Freedom of Information Act. We request those FOIAs on behalf of clients to see and investigate their immigration history and their criminal record, because that does affect, someone in applying for an immigration benefit. So those are a few of the services that we do provide. And so the way that we are able to work in providing these services for free or low cost, we are funded by the state. And that's how we're able to get funding to be able to meet a certain number of cases that we're able to submit every year. And right now, as we said, that we are an accredited organization. For a while, it was only 2 people that were accredited, but we actually now have 5 accredited representatives, which is amazing, that we're able to see that. And so we have Marlene, Russell, myself, and then we have 2 other newly accredited reps. Their names are Hillary and Nancy. And we're also submitting 2 more applications for some of our staff to become accredited. So that's been great, and seeing that we're able to expand our knowledge and our ability to give our clients, our community, that legal advice, obviously under supervision. And Importa, we've been working really hard in, especially with DACA renewals. At the moment, we have been, for this beginning of the quarter, we've actually been submitted at least 119 DACA renewals. So there's a lot of new people that have been coming to us, a lot of returning clients. In terms of U visa, we've also seen an increase in U visa applications. Right now, so far this year, we've submitted 11 U visa applications. So that's pretty amazing. And it's not just here in Santa Maria, it's also Santa Barbara, the Central Coast area. And so moreover that, our organization, we are also celebrating our 10-year anniversary doing immigration work, which is amazing. So that's when we started doing, consultations with clients. And so we're obviously evolving, and we always are looking for folks to support our work. A lot of the work that we do have to, do an intake, do applications, filling out, translating documents. So anybody that is interested in getting involved with Importa's work is more than welcome to visit our website. And we do offer internship as well as volunteer opportunities for high schoolers or students that are in college. And we give them the opportunity to get trained, and for anybody to learn what it is to work with clients in their immigration case. So we do train our volunteers to translate documents. We help them, with customer service, making phone calls. We also teach them how to do data entry. And so with our program, we also work closely with Goodwill, who they're able to actually provide a job to people that are in high school or that are starting in college. And we take in these young people to train them in their work, as well as anybody, no matter if they're monolingual Spanish or bilingual, we give them the opportunity to work with us. So it's great to see how we've been evolving in that area. And then I know someone asked what a U visa cases. So for the U visa, for those that don't know what a U visa is, we help victims that have been victims of crime, in particular to domestic violence. So anybody that has been a victim of domestic violence and has collaborated with law enforcement or the police, and they have a police report, we can actually assist them in applying for a U visa, which is a U1 non-immigrant status. After they are approved for that U1 non-immigrant status, then they are able to apply for their permanent green card, permanent resident status, which is, it does take some years, but it is a route that many folks have that opportunity to apply for. And we screen them for immigration history and their criminal record. And then VAWA is similar to that, but there's just a few discrepancies. And we also assist with T visas. Now, those are a little bit harder to find. And T visas are when they're related to labor or sex trafficking, where the person has, reported it to the police or not reported it, but there's evidence of that trafficking. So they're able to apply for that benefit as well. And we, anybody that comes to our office, no matter what kind of case they have, we can screen them, even if it's something that we cannot assist in. If it's a harder case, we can still screen them and then refer out the client to the designated organization. So if it's something that we can work closely with ILDC, then we can refer them out to them, and just collaborate in that way. Yeah, so if anybody is interested in learning more about our organization, you can always visit our website at importasb.org. We are based on grants, and we do depend on our grants and also donations to be able to provide the work that we do. And we're one of the largest providers of immigration legal services in Santa Barbara County. So a big portion of our donations definitely assists us in being able to provide the help to our clients. And a lot of the times, if we do have clients that cannot pay their immigration fees, then we do plan to do fundraisers, as well as get assistance from our donations to be able to cover their immigration fees. So if it's something that you are able to support us, you can visit us. And I think that was all my comments. But if you are interested in visiting us, we are in Santa Barbara and Santa Maria. Our location in Santa Barbara is 129 East Carrillo Street, Santa Barbara, California, 93101. And in Santa Maria, we're at 327 Plaza Drive, Santa Maria, California, 93454. You can always call us at 805-604-5060. But you can find that information in our website. I think that's it for us.
Thank you so much, Joana. And congratulations on 10 years. That's huge.
I know, I didn't realize that till Marlene mentioned it, and I was like, oh wow, I can't believe we've been present for that long, which is amazing. Thank you, Landon.
That's great. And I also just want to highlight the work that Importa is doing, as well as Immigrant Hope, around things like DACA renewals, U visas, T visas. Not only does that obviously provide a way for someone to be able to remain in this country with their family, but it also is beneficial for allowing people to be able to get work permits, which is really important right now as housing prices are through the roof, as jobs are limited. So we really value the pathway that provides for households to be able to earn income. And so we're grateful for all your work. So with that, I want to next move to Carla Ken, who is the legal director with Immigrant Hope Santa Barbara. And just a reminder to all our speakers to speak slowly for the interpreters, please.
Thank you so much, Landon. I will try to speak slower than when I get excited, I tend to just start talking really fast, but I am aware that there's someone interpreting for me, been there before. But hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Carla Ken, and I am the legal director here with Immigrant Hope Santa Barbara. And we're also another accredited center here in Santa Barbara County, and also trying to expand into the Arroyo Grande area, so SLO County as well. And so pretty much I second with what Joana was saying in terms of the services that we provide. At the end of the day, I believe that, or our objective here, it's the immigration work, but it really comes down to the relationship that we build with our clients, along with the immigration services that we provide. We also have education services throughout the week. There's various classes depending on the interest of the individual. Every evening, from driver's license classes, which are those classes that people are interested in wanting to pass the written test, not the behind the wheel. I wish we did, but so far it's just the written test. We also provide the civics class, so to prepare and equip somebody for their citizenship interview. It requires knowing, memorizing 100 civics questions, knowing the writing and reading in English. If they don't qualify for taking it in their own language. So those are classes we offer, along with a class that we're working with the fire department for preparedness for emergency relief. And so we have quite a good amount of people in the community who are coming Thursday evenings for those classes. And so right now, given the current situation with Ukraine, TPS status being announced recently, we kind of want to, based off on the current circumstances, not limit ourselves. And so right now, we're kind of going along with that too. And so if you know somebody who is Ukrainian in the United States during the time that TPS was announced, we can go ahead and help them with that process. We definitely have a lot of, we've seen a lot of Ukrainian students here who are currently in student status or have overstayed. And so those are, that's the community that we want to always continue to support and in this way. And so, just kind of go based off on ear, and if it's something that we are able to do and have the capacity to do it, we try what we can to accommodate and make sure that they have a place that they can seek that service. And so I mean, there's a lot stuff going on here at the office, and one of the things, just to shout out Diane Martinez, our executive director. She will actually be going and doing a border trip to El Paso, May 16th to the 19th. And she would be, she's going to be leading it, part of the All People's Ministry. That's the name of the organization. And so we're excited for her to go out there and represent and just be there, be present, and be able to, come back and be able to share her experience. And I mean, it's not necessarily the experience itself, it's the fact that, being present, being there at the moment with, just seeing so much need. And so we, I think adding with what Joana said, the services, that's who we are here in Santa Barbara. And so, I don't know what else to add. I think it's pretty much well said. I mean, it's really great to see all of these organizations collaborate and be able to reach to our community in different ways and different scope of work. And I'm really, really excited to see so many people in this meeting, and just to give us the opportunity to share with you what we do on our end on the legal side, on the immigration stuff. And it can be a lot of words, a lot of different cases, but if you know anybody who is in need of any kind of information for immigration, please feel free to reach out to any of these organizations. And very, very happy to always be working alongside them, and referrals when necessary and if needed. So thank you very much for everybody, and for allowing this time for me to say a little bit about us.
Thank you so much, Karla. We really, really appreciate you coming out. Finally, we'll hear from Julissa Peña with the Immigrant Legal Defense Center of Santa Barbara County. Julissa is the executive director.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening, and it's so nice to see so many familiar faces. Landon, thank you for giving us the opportunity to share the Immigrant Legal Defense Center's work and the continued challenges, unfortunately. The ILDC's mission is to provide equal access to justice and due process to indigent immigrants residing on the Central Coast by, first of all, providing pro bono representation to immigrants in deportation proceedings, and secondly, providing community education to help immigrants understand and pursue their basic civil rights. Our goal really is to fill the significant gap in legal representation resulting from the U.S. immigration system's failure to provide court-appointed counsel to immigrants facing deportation who are unable to afford an attorney. Initially, our programs were focused on Santa Barbara County, but we recently expanded our removal defense program to serve clients in the 3 Central Coast counties, which is Ventura, Santa Barbara, and San Luis Obispo. This expansion is largely in response to the unmet need for deportation defense representation for unaccompanied migrant children, and was taken in light of our increasing legal capacity. This week, we hired an additional half-time immigration attorney who will work exclusively with migrant children who qualify for a protection that is called special immigrant juvenile status. It gives them a pathway to lawful permanent residence for immigrant children who are under 21 years old and who have been abused, abandoned, or neglected by a parent or legal guardian. In 2021, we witnessed record-setting numbers of unaccompanied migrant children enter the immigration court system. More than 1,200 unaccompanied migrant children have been released to sponsors on the Central Coast and are currently facing deportation proceedings. Because the ILDC understands that an attorney can be life-saving when an unaccompanied child's future and well-being depend on the outcome of their immigration proceedings, it has prioritized legal representation for unaccompanied children this year. We know that it is virtually impossible for a child without an attorney to effectively navigate the complex immigration court system. And it's hard to believe, but these children are forced to defend themselves in immigration court when in this huge imbalance of power, when you see the government is being represented by an attorney and argues for the child's deportation while the child is not. That's why our goal is to continue to build legal capacity to guarantee these children don't face immigration court alone. And we're doing also something else. We want to help these kids access resources in their post-migration life. There's an enormous lack of post-release services and advocacy. Most unaccompanied migrant children must wait 3 to 5 years to apply for permanent residency after securing a state court order for special immigrant juvenile status. During this time, the child has no legal status, and if they get in trouble with the law, they can jeopardize their chance at getting a green card. That's why the ILDC, Just Communities, and Gateway Education Services have come together this year to empower 15 unaccompanied migrant children in Santa Barbara County through a 2-year project called Equity and Access Without Borders to safeguard these children's chance at getting a green card and to provide them with post-migration support, with the post-migration support they need to break cycles of violence and poverty. The project will provide this cohort with leadership development, academic support and advocacy, and of course, legal counsel, a pro bono legal counsel from the ILDC, and mental health support. It will address educational and legal inequities and injustices, and it will really offer, and it would offer a unique, holistic, synchronized, and multi-year approach to enable unaccompanied migrant youth to access the resources they need to survive and thrive in our community. This project was launched last week, but we continue to fundraise to contract a therapist of color who will work exclusively with this cohort, and a case manager who will be housed by the ILDC. And so some of our biggest needs are California licensed volunteer attorneys who can represent children in state court to secure predicate orders for the protection that I just mentioned, special immigrant juvenile status. And so this is a short time commitment of 2 to 3 months. ILDC will train you and guide you through the entire process. You won't be alone. We're also in great need of paralegals who can partner up with California licensed volunteer attorneys to prepare state court forms for special immigrant juvenile status. And of course, we need monetary support to continue to increase our legal service capacity to meet this great need, and to hire a full-time case manager who, again, will work collaboratively with ILDC attorneys and local organizations to ensure that these children receive the support services they need, such as enrollment assistance, healthcare appointments, language access for needed services, and more, whatever their intersectional needs are. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm happy to answer any questions at the end. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Julissa. I'm blown away by everybody on this call. We just have a lot of amazing advocates and allies in our community, and these folks I would consider my local heroes. So I'm really grateful to have you all with us tonight, and I know how much your time matters. So I do want to share just a link in the chat window, and we'll email this out as well, but this link is kind of the comprehensive listing of these action items that we've been talking about tonight. So all of our service providers and coalition builders, et cetera, have given us a lot of bullet points of ways to get involved and support. So, so those are all accessible there. I also just want to share a slide with some of the high level things that we mentioned tonight. We do encourage you to donate to the Border Project as you're able, so we can hit that $6,000 goal. The Justice Fund campaign coming up later this month, which, as I mentioned, we'll share a registration link when that's available. Immigrant Day of Action in April, excuse me, and that date is actually wrong. It should say April 26th, Tuesday the 26th. Again, volunteering with any of our service providing agencies and or donating to them. We have an email list with the ISA to engage our interfaith community in these issues. And then also just all of these causes and services require people power. So I just want to take a moment to highlight this last item, commit to conversation. For those who identify as immigrant allies, it's really important for us to help educate our friends, family, neighbors, faith communities about why this work is so vital. So in addition to any volunteer work you decide to do or donations you decide to give, we strongly encourage you to commit to at least one conversation this month to help push this cause forward and grow our network of support here. So we do have a few minutes left. I'd like to open it up if there are any questions or anything that anyone would like to share. Please feel free to raise your hand as you're able. You can also write your question in the chat window and then we'll unmute you if you like. So any questions? It is the end of the week, so I know that our energy levels are going to be low right now. I'll just ask from our service providers, and what if anything new are you seeing happening in our community right now that we should be aware of as allies? This is for Julissa, Karla, Joana.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I just spoke about children is one of the things that is little known. And it's a protection that I think Joana and Karla would agree, but please tell me if not, but it's such an easy protection to get in comparison to asylum, which has really stringent requirements. And so we're really trying our best. And I mean, Importa and Immigrant Hope have been so wonderful in really spreading the word about ILDC providing this type of legal help to migrant children, because we've been receiving a lot of referrals from them. But we really need to spread the word about this protection, because we've also learned that there's a lot of kids that are not in deportation defense that are sort of living in the shadows. They entered without inspection, and they have been abused, neglected, or abandoned by a parent or both parents or a legal guardian, and they qualify for this protection. And so it's been a priority of us to reach these children before they age out. Molly asked me to address the difference between removal defense and deportation defense. It's the same thing. Removal defense is just another way of saying deportation defense. And so Immigrant Hope and Importa, Immigrant Hope and Importa primarily provide affirmative services, but Immigrant Hope, Karla is a fully accredited representative, so she provides some deportation defense as well. We're lucky to have her just because the need is so great. And yes, and so affirmative people who fall under the affirmative pathway can adjust their status affirmatively, which means that they don't have to face an immigration judge to adjust their status. Mm-hmm.
There's also a question about whether the children have to go to court in LA for these proceedings.
Yeah, so this protection is a very unique legal protection because it requires representation in state court. For Santa Barbara County kids, it would be in Santa Barbara County. For Ventura County, Ventura, in state court. But at the same time, they are also they're still facing deportation. And so they still have to go to the immigration court hearings in LA. So all the kids on the Central Coast who are facing deportation have to go to an LA immigration court. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just want to comment on the same notion that Julissa shared. There has been a lot of young people that have reached out to us, and they do need more assistance in getting a family attorney because they have to go to the state court. So we have been seeing that, as well as a lot of U visa, a lot of victims of crimes, of domestic violence. I think it's related to the pandemic and lack of communication, or lack of being able to talk to other people. So there has definitely been an increase in domestic violence. And compared to the last couple of years, and because of that, we are lending a hand to these victims and referring them to domestic violence solutions or RISE, and finding shelters for these victims. And many of these victims are women of color, and also finding interpretation for them, because many of these victims are from the Mixteco Indigena communities. So, working with other organizations and getting that sort of assistance for them, and just being there for the client. So a lot of the times we are listening to their stories, and it is very very detrimental to them, what tragedies they've been through. And then, like a lot of these victims are young people as well. So we have been seeing an increase in that, in victims of domestic violence or other crimes.
Yeah, and I can just add something specific in regards to the people who are in removal proceedings. We've seen, I've seen specifically a lot of individuals who are placed in removal proceedings because they are in the United States seeking asylum. However, when just screening and looking at the claims that they present, kind of pretty much what Julissa said about the stringent rules for a claim of asylum, I've seen a lot of people, their reason to come to this country is because all they want is a better life. They want the financial situation, the economic situation in their home country is not the best, and they want to flee that country because they want to give a better life to their children. And so it's just really heartbreaking, because how are we here supposed to tell them that unfortunately that is not going to warrant a strong claim for asylum? It's not even an eligible claim, just based off on the economic impact. And so it's just really it's heartbreaking, because an influx of immigrants coming, asylum seekers, hearing their story, just sympathizing with them, one of those things that you just sit there and hear and listen, because I can't, I will never be able to relate, and it's a blessing. But at the end of the day, it's how can we guide them in a way that we can do the best that we can given the circumstances. So that is just something that we've been seeing a lot lately, where we trying to like find ways, but sadly it's just not a claim that an immigration judge would probably grant. They will give them credibility, but it's not sufficient for grant of asylum. And so that is something that has come up a lot lately. And yeah, so it's having those conversations with these people, and that's the importance of the relationship part of why I think the work that we all do here, all the service providers that are on this meeting, I think that's the best main takeaway for this job. It's just being able to just sit and hear and listen to them. And yeah, it's hard, but it's rewarding at the end of the day. So yeah.
Thank you all. We have a question from Mark. Mark, you're muted right now.
I just happened, as it were, to be in immigration court this morning with drivers listos with a deportation case. And, listening to the legal services that have been shared here this evening are so impressive. And I'm just sort of blown away at everything that has evolved over these last number of years. But this morning I observed a lawyer that it didn't seem to me to be, this was not a local lawyer, as competent as I would have wanted for their client. And are any of our local organizations connected to anybody that sort of vets all of the different immigration lawyers that people turn to desperately, but often get connected to lawyers that may not be serving them well? Am I making any sense here? Yeah. Any references to sort of how people can sort of find the best legal representation when they turn?
Yeah, no, you're definitely making sense, Mark. I understand. So usually when folks do call ILDC, we realize that they have, family, some financial support, and they can afford a private attorney. We usually refer them to trusting attorneys in the community, first of all.
But no, it's just moving.
And some that are in LA that we've also built relationships with. But unfortunately, many times folks go to attorneys who are representing other family members. And so that's how they get connected, right? Or you have these attorneys, these private attorneys who have gained some fame through television, news, and things like that, and they're not even that competent, but they give the illusion that they are because of that fame, and they're ridiculously expensive. And so I oftentimes steer folks away from them and recommend them to private attorneys who I know are specialists in immigration law, that they have earned that title, who we trust. But I mean, I think we can do better, though. Maybe as organizations, maybe coming together and maybe creating a list. And this is probably something I can work with Karla and Joana, and creating a list that we can also just of trustworthy other legal service nonprofits also in LA, and also private attorneys and low bono attorneys that we can probably distribute to other immigrant serving organizations and also drivers listos, right? So maybe, we'll follow up with that, and I'll bug Joana and Karla in creating that.
Yeah. What I think would be like helpful is jotting down that attorney's name And just to piggyback on what Julissa says, like just finding out, asking other attorneys like Vanessa. I know Vanessa Frank is very involved in like the Ventura County area. So just asking other attorneys like, hey, do you know about this attorney? And I mean, we do have these coin meetings every so often. And so these coin meetings, they're hosted because it's to come together as organizations and as well as other attorneys like Vanessa Frank. And so usually we asked each other like, hey, like, do you know this person? Or like, do you know they have had a good amount of cases that they've gotten approved? So I think that would be a way to screen attorneys that are new or that we don't know enough about. And then looking up their information on the California, what is it called? There's a website, right, Julissa?
Yeah, the
can-
California State Bar. First of all, it's
Right.
important checking that they're active on the California State Bar, right?
Right.
That you're not
If,
maybe
if,
fraudulent.
if I could add something, however, Julissa, your idea is a very good one for Importa, ILDC, and Immigrant Hope to put together a list of attorneys you can refer people to. Because we know from our driver's lease, those clients, as you say, Julissa, they're using lawyers that other relatives used. It's very difficult for them to do the research that would be needed to verify someone's qualifications. Be very helpful to have a list.
Yeah, I totally agree. I agree with everything that was said. Just to chime in a little bit. Yeah, you know, every time somebody calls and looking for an attorney, we want to, yeah, I always tell them, you know, I am not just going to go online and type in immigration attorney Santa Barbara or wherever the person's calling from. If there's honestly no one that I know of locally in that area that I've worked with or known about or known of their work, I rather honestly just not give them a referral and instead of giving them something that that is going to, you know, lead them to probably not the right avenue. And yeah, there's just unfortunately with court and just any kind of type of representation with these types of immigration cases, you know, sadly you do see that a lot where, you know, even the same attorneys are not prepared or they are not aware of the of what it takes to complete an application from the beginning to the very end. Same with representation in court, and it's just yeah, no, I agree. Vanessa Frank, yeah, she is definitely a great attorney. She was my ex-boss, and it's just like I think it would be a good idea, especially to narrow down because immigration law can be very complex. There's so many different different areas, and so there's employment based, there's family based, there's removal defense, and so I think just creating that list that at least within this county, we can start there to be able to have that the list, the networking. Really, it comes down to networking and knowing where to send the person and at what law firm or what other organization would be able to help them with their case. Because
if there's any
yeah.
way that I can help in moving forward to create such a list, please let me know, because it would be of enormous benefit across the board.
Wonderful, thank you. We're almost at time here, but Mark, did you have one other question? Well, I just want to say thank you again so much to everyone who came out tonight, and especially to our presenters for all that you're doing, for your willingness to share with us. Yeah, if we want to do applause for everyone, we just want to say thank you so much for being with us. For everyone else, we are hosting the vigil on Sunday at 4:30, so we hope we'll see you there. But again, we're so grateful you came out tonight, and blessings to all of you. Thank you.